Good afternoon, friends. Today I want to tell you a story that vividly demonstrates how even sworn enemies, when faced with displays of incredible selflessness and unbroken strength of spirit, can develop respect and admiration for each other. During the Soviet era, the tragic fate of the 33rd Army, encircled near Vyazma in the spring of 1942, and its commander, General Mikhail Grigorievich Yefremov, was a topic best avoided. This was because the Battle of Moscow was meant to remain in the public memory solely as a symbol of brilliant victory and the crushing defeat of the Nazi invaders. Furthermore, the actions of the legendary Marshal Zhukov, commander of the Western Front, in that difficult situation were far from flawless, and he made a number of serious mistakes, which were also not spoken about. Meanwhile, the 33rd Army, completely surrounded, waged a heroic struggle for a long time. When the army's situation became truly critical, Stalin personally ordered a plane to be sent for General Yefremov. However, demonstrating the highest devotion to his soldiers, the general refused to abandon his men and ordered the plane to be used for the evacuation of the wounded. The general's path from the Tsar's army to command. The biography of Mikhail Yefremov is the story of a true fighter who traveled a difficult path. In the summer of 1917, as a warrant officer in the Tsar's army, he decided to desert and joined a Red Guard detachment in Moscow, where he actively participated in the October Revolution. In March 1918, Mikhail joined the ranks of the Workers' and Peasants' Red Army, RKKA. In 1920, he was entrusted with the command of a combined detachment consisting of 4 armored trains, a formidable force at that time. Yefremov particularly distinguished himself during the daring and swift raid on Baku. The attack was so lightning-fast and unexpected that the Musavatists, gripped by panic, fled without having time to carry out their plan to set fire to the oil derricks. This feat of the young commander was marked by his first Soviet award, the Order of the Red Banner. This event became a significant milestone in his military career. In the 1930s, Mikhail Grigorievich devoted himself to in-depth study of military affairs, graduating from 2 military academies. From 1937, he commanded the troops of the vast Transbaikal military district, gaining invaluable experience in leading large military formations. In 1938, he was summoned to Moscow, where, to his horror, he was arrested on false charges of participating in a conspiracy against the Soviet government. At the moment when the situation seemed absolutely hopeless, Yefremov wrote a letter to Anastas Mikoyan, with whom he had fought shoulder to shoulder in that very legendary Baku raid. Mikoyan responded to the call for help, and his intervention played a decisive role. Stalin personally arrived for the general's next interrogation, after which Yefremov was released. By the beginning of the Great Patriotic War, he commanded the 21st Army, ready for new challenges. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss new exciting stories about World War II and learn the perspectives of all participants in those distant events. Euphoria that became a fatal mistake. On October 23, 1941, General Yefremov arrived near Narofominsk, where he took command of the retreating 33rd Army. The very next day, October 24th, he managed to halt the retreat of his troops at the Nara River line, despite an acute shortage of tanks and artillery. For over a month, the Red Army soldiers, demonstrating miracles of heroism, held back the fierce onslaught of superior enemy forces. Only on December 1st, 2 German divisions, with a 5-fold advantage, managed to break through the defenses of the 222nd Division and advance, occupying the village of Burtsevo. Moscow was only 25 kilometers away, and this news infuriated Zhukov. However, Yefremov, demonstrating decisiveness and gathering all available reserves, including an NKVD regiment, managed to push the enemy back the very next day. On December 5th, the Red Army launched a counteroffensive near Moscow, and German troops were rapidly pushed westward. On December 26th, the 33rd Army liberated Narofominsk, and on January 19th, Vereya. Zhukov later recalled that an atmosphere of euphoria reigned at Stavka, Soviet high command. Confidence in a swift victory over Germany was so strong that the complete liberation of the USSR's territory was planned for 1942. This euphoria, as it turned out later, became a fatal mistake. At the beginning of 1942, the Soviet command planned to encircle and destroy German troops in the area of the Rzhev-Vyazma salient, formed as a result of the Red Army's counteroffensive. However, this plan failed to take into account the extremely difficult situation of the Soviet divisions, exhausted and depleted after heavy fighting. Only 25–35% of personnel remained in the regiments. Despite this, the 33rd Army received orders to advance on Vyazma. Moreover, on February 2nd, Front Commander Zhukov took away its most combat-ready 9th Division, numbering 10,000 soldiers, and transferred it to the neighboring 43rd Army, further weakening the already exhausted 33rd Army. This decision had catastrophic consequences. At the same time, the German command was taking active measures to restore the combat capability of its troops. Hitler, using all his power and cruelty, restored discipline in the army. Military tribunals sentenced 62,000 Wehrmacht soldiers and officers accused of desertion, panic, and unauthorized retreat. Penal battalions were created. Fresh, well-equipped units arrived from the west. On the night of February 3rd, German tank divisions launched a powerful blow at the base of the Soviet breakthrough. As a result of this blow, the 33rd Army, consisting by that time of only 3 divisions, was almost completely surrounded. Zhukov categorically forbade the army to attempt a breakout, hoping to soon launch an offensive and use its units in future operations. Weeks went by. Ammunition and food were running out. Air supplies were insufficient, and a significant portion of the dropped cargo fell into enemy hands. Diseases began in the encircled army. Epidemics flared up. The situation was becoming increasingly desperate, a feat that amazed even the enemy. When the defenders' strength was almost exhausted, General Yefremov appealed directly to Stalin with a request to permit a breakout from the encirclement. Zhukov was furious, but, faced with Stalin's inflexibility, was forced to agree to the retreat. However, precious time had been lost. Early spring arrived, the snow melted, the spring floods began, significantly complicating the already difficult situation of the encircled army. According to surviving commanders, if the order to break through had been given 2 weeks earlier, most of the army could have been saved. On April 9th, a plane arrived for the general, but he, true to his duty and his soldiers, refused to abandon the encircled men and ordered the plane to be used for the evacuation of the wounded and the rescue of the battle flags. This act of self-sacrifice became a symbol of courage and devotion. On the night of April 14, the remnants of the army began their breakout. Guns and mortars had to be blown up due to the complete lack of ammunition. Despite continuous German attacks, cutting off and destroying individual groups of Red Army soldiers, the exhausted fighters managed to reach the Ugra River, the location agreed upon with Stavka for a rendezvous with their own troops. However, a bitter disappointment awaited them there. Units of the 43rd Army were unable to reach the meeting point. The ammunition was completely exhausted, and the remnants of the army had to retreat. The pursuit continued. On April 19th, the group in which the commander was located was ambushed. Mikhail Grigorievich was seriously wounded in the back. Not wanting to be captured, he shot himself. Many soldiers were taken prisoner. The German general, struck by the courage of the Soviet army commander, ordered him to be buried with military honors near the church in the village of Slobodka. This act of respect from the enemy became further evidence of the greatness of General Yefremov's feat. Eternal memory to the hero. The officer made a speech before his soldiers, who were lined up there at the grave. You must fight for Germany as bravely and courageously as this general fought for his Russia. Smekinkov, the army that was betrayed. Conclusion. The feat of the 33rd Army, which fought in complete encirclement for 10 weeks under conditions of cold, hunger, and constant enemy attacks, is difficult to overestimate. Of the 12,000 men who were encircled, only 230 soldiers made it back to their own lines. Another 670 joined the partisans. In 1996, Mikhail Grigorievich Yefremov was posthumously awarded the title of Hero of the Russian Federation, a well-deserved award for his courage, selflessness, and devotion to his motherland. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.